to Radio Survivor, the sound of strong communities. My name is Paul Reesmandel.
Hello, everybody. It's Eric Klein here on Radio Survivor, and we're talking about the possibility, maybe you never dreamed, that you could build a tiny radio station totally legally in your home or town.
Very tiny radio stations that you can operate without a license that can reach your neighborhood, perhaps even, or at very least your block, your building, and you don't have to worry about the FCC, and you can pretty much play anything you want. It's not a fantasy.
Yeah,
it is. This is reality.
Not pirate radio. It's licensed.
It is unlicensed.
It's unlicensed,
but it's legal.
It's legal.
It's legal. Yes, that's right.
As soon as you say unlicensed, I think, well, okay. But no, yeah.
But there's all sorts of communications that are unlicensed.
Sure.
Your wireless router at home is unlicensed. Your baby monitor is unlicensed. Your CB radio is unlicensed. And this is just another category.
In the 1990s.
Yes. They're all unlicensed. They're all legal. And so is there also the ability to do this on the broadcast dial, to do this where people normally tune in to radio. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's Radio Survivor. This is when we get to dive in, take a little diversion from policy, because there's a lot going on at the FCC that we'll definitely report on the next show after the FCC has their December open meeting and makes decisions about network neutrality and other things. So believe me, we're going to keep you caught up. But today's show is going to be a bit more about fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can also squeeze it into the network neutrality world if you want to wedge it in there.
Well, sort of like, yes,
here's
no one can stop you.
Here's a place on the dial. Yeah, here's a place on the dial where you are welcome to communicate with your community.
Internet or not.
Yeah.
All you need is some electricity.
Small.
And people need to, you could probably run it off of a generator or a fairly large battery, I suppose.
Neighborhood radio.
Neighborhood radio. Mini radio. Tiny radio is what we're talking about. And on the line from Norwalk, Connecticut, via Skype is Bill DeFelice. He is the webmaster of hobbybroadcaster.net, and he's going to help us understand a class of broadcasting that anyone in, at least in the United States, can participate in without a license.
Making radio
broadcasting on the airwaves. Tomorrow, if you feel like it, without a license, legally.
Today.
Completely legally, completely within the bounds of the law. And this is what hobbybroadcaster.net is dedicated to. And Bill's going to tell us much more about this. So Bill, thank you for joining the show. And my first question is, so tell us a little bit about this. This is a kind of broadcasting which is, we've talked about on the show before, we call it Part 15, and that's just sort of a shorthand. Can you briefly explain, to us what Part 15 broadcasting is?
Certainly, and thanks for having me, first of all. And Part 15, it kind of dates back to when the FCC made these rules back in the late 30s for people to actually have these devices called phono oscillators, which allowed them to listen to records of all things through their radios in their homes. Through the years, the rules got expanded, and Part 15 not only just covers the AM and FM broadcast spectrum, it actually pretty much covers the entire radio spectrum that the FCC polices.
Bill,